Get ready to rat up your hair, rush home to catch the Corny Collins show, and dance your heart out to solve racism. That's right, we're watching 2007's movie musical Hairspray on this episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. Hello, and welcome to Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. I'm Heather.
I'm Dan.
And today, for the first time, I am showing you a movie.
That is true. Well, not the first time ever, but the first time for the podcast.
First time for the podcast. So, what do you know about Hairspray, the property, or more specifically, the 2007 movie?
So, I do know that it is a musical.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it is a remake. I don't know how it fits. I think it's got that Little Shop of Horrors, Mean Girls thing going on where there was an older movie and a Broadway musical, and I don't know if the original movie was a musical or not. I'm actually not sure about that. I think John Waters is involved somewhere. And I don't know if he's involved with what year was this one?
2007.
I don't know if John Waters was involved in the 2007 version or not, but I do know that at least there is a Broadway play version of this, and this is the movie version of that. I also know that there is a mom character that is traditionally played by a man in drag, and John Travolta plays that character in this movie. And I think it's a period piece. So I think it takes place in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the original version was contemporary and this is sort of a retro look back at it, or if the original version was a period piece as well, too. Yeah, that's all I know.
Okay. Do you think you know any of the songs? Do you think you've heard?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know any of the songs. If there are any songs that are earworms or anything that I've heard before, I couldn't place it. So I do remember in 2007 when this movie came out, I remember they advertised it. Movie studios are averse a lot of times to advertising musicals, but they did play up that this was a musical. And so I am sure that some of the songs were featured in the advertisements. So whether or not they'll sound familiar, or if there's songs that are out there like in pop culture, but I just didn't realize that they were from this movie. So yeah, right. So I don't know.
I'll be curious to know if you do end up recognizing any of the songs. I was not super familiar with Hairspray before I saw this movie, so I had never seen the original and still haven't seen the original movie or the stage show at all. I did recognize songs, but I have, an interesting background in that I grew up taking dance classes. And so I think that some of the songs from the show were performed in my dance recitals. So I was familiar with show tunes from many shows for that reason, even if I had never seen them. But you are correct that Hairspray started off as a 1988 movie.
1988, okay.
Written and directed by John Waters. And then it was turned into a stage show, a Broadway musical. And then it was adapted into the 2007 version that we are going to watch for the podcast.
Okay, so the original movie was not a musical.
No, the original movie was not a musical. So it was adapted into a musical, first for the stage and then for a musical movie.
Interesting. So you love this movie. Mm-hmm. I do know that.
Yes.
But you haven't seen the original.
I haven't. I went to see this when it came out with a friend, and we were just looking for something to do. It was the summer of 2007, and this was a new friend of mine at the time I've since been in her wedding, so we made a lasting memory going to see Hairspray, I guess. I've since been curious about seeing the original, but John Waters is pretty eccentric. And
yeah,
I'm sure that the tone of the movie would be very different than this. And I've just been a little worried about it. So I haven't ever watched the original movie.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything John Waters has done either. I think the most exposure I've had to John Waters was that episode of The Simpsons that he guest starred in. I'm familiar with his work as intentionally campy. is the impression that I get, both intentionally campy and provocative.
Absolutely. I haven't seen any of his other work either. What I've read about him is he is very provocative and he likes disgusting.
Yeah, I did know that.
That's not really for me. So that's, I think, part of what's made me reluctant to,
Me either, to be perfectly honest.
check out the original movie.
Was he involved at all in this version?
I don't want to say too much more about what I know until maybe after.
Okay.
Let's talk about summer 2007.
All right. Summer 2007. Okay.
So this movie came out July 10th, 2007.
All right. So I was 26 and you were...
I was just about a month shy of my 21st birthday.
Okay.
In 2007. I looked up some things that were happening around the same time. Not a lot. I mean, the first iPhone was released.
Oh, yeah.
In summer of 2007. Bob Barker hosted his last episode of The Price is Right.
Oh.
And Phineas and Ferb premiered on the Disney Channel. As for some movies that came out the same time, so the next day, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix was released.
I wonder if you've ever seen that.
I have. And so have you. And
which one? Wait, which one is Order
of
the Phoenix?
Well, it's number 5, and that is the one. The Order of the Phoenix is
okay. That's the group. They have their little secret club and
correct.
Yeah.
I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. The Simpsons movie and The Bourne Ultimatum were all summer 2007 movies.
Whatever happened to Kevin James? What has he
I don't
been
know,
up to?
And I worry that we don't know because it seems sinister. So the cast of the original movie, which again, haven't seen, but Divine, who is...
I did know that.
A big John Waters staple, drag queen. Ricky Lake plays the main character.
Ricky Lake, really?
Yes.
I think you're ringing a bell, and I remember hearing this, but I mean, I know Ricky Lake from her talk show in the 90s, so it's weird to think of her as an actress before that.
Sonny Bono.
All right.
Debbie Harry and Jerry Stiller. So those are some notable names.
Jerry Stiller.
From the 1988 original John Waters movie.
I didn't know Debbie Harry did any acting either.
We can talk once we've watched the movie. And
Blondie, right?
Yes, from Blondie. Yeah. Once we've watched the movie, we can talk about who some of these people played.
Okay.
And in the original Broadway show, Harvey Fierstein.
Harvey Fierstein.
I love him. And Matthew Morrison. Those were the only people that I knew. I think that maybe some of the other original cast members were bigger Broadway stars, but those are the actors that I'm familiar with. Matthew Morrison went on to star in Glee.
Oh, that's a show that people watched.
Yeah, I didn't, but people know him from that. As far as the cast of this movie, so Nikki Blonsky was a newcomer to acting.
And never was, apparently. Nikki Blonsky?
Nikki Blonsky.
I don't even know
apparently
what gender that person is, to be perfectly honest.
Female.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, female. Nikki Blonsky. She plays the main character, the same character that Ricky Lake played in the original movie.
Okay.
And from what I read, she had never acted before in any capacity. You know, she has since been in some other things, but I think she hasn't really had a huge acting career. But she auditioned for this movie because she had always wanted to play the main character. And again, we can talk a little bit more about that after you've seen the movie. But as far as the rest of the cast, you mentioned John Travolta. That's
John
correct.
Travolta.
John Travolta. I mean, if he can say Adele Dazeem, then I can say John Travolta. It's a lot closer to the real name.
Right.
John Travolta is in this. Also, Christopher Walken.
Oh, all right.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Do they have Christopher Walken dance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I shouldn't tell you that. That's a spoiler, but yes.
It's not a spoiler.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Huh.
Queen Latifah.
Huh.
James Marsden.
Yeah.
Amanda Bynes.
Oh.
Brittany Snow.
Oh.
And Allison Janney. I probably should have put her higher, but she has a fairly small role.
Allison Janney's great.
Allison Janney is wonderful. So that is the cast. It's a pretty stacked cast.
No kidding.
It had a budget of $75 million.
That seems expensive for a musical in 2007.
It earned $27.5 million in its opening weekend at number 3.
Ugh.
That was behind I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry and Harry Potter.
Wow.
It had a total domestic gross of 118.9 million and 202.5 million worldwide.
So not a flop.
No, it was critically acclaimed. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Oh.
It was directed by Adam Shankman.
Oh.
How do you know him?
Adam Shankman. He's directed a lot of, I want to say, good TV episodes. Now I want to look it up because I know the name and I want to say...
Well, I'll tell you that he didn't have an extensive film directing career. His directing credits are the ones that I noted were The Wedding Planner and A Walk to Remember, both early 2000s chick flicks. He also directed The Pacifier with Vin Diesel and Rock of Ages. Don't steal my other information.
No, I'm not. But he directed a couple of episodes of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, okay.
And I thought...
Well, he's also a choreographer, and he was the choreographer for Catch Me If You Can. I thought you might know his name from that.
The choreographer?
Mm-hmm.
For Catch Me If You Can?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there were choreography scenes.
He was also the choreographer for Addams Family Values.
Huh.
And I think some other things, but those were the ones that jumped out at me. Do you have any guesses what the movie's about?
I really don't. I think it's a coming of age story. A young woman, main character in the 1960s. John Waters is involved, so I would not be surprised if there was at least a queer subtext, if not a straight up queer text. But no, I got nothing.
I'm really excited to watch this and see what you think about what it's about because I think you'll be surprised by some aspects of it.
All right. I will say I am picky about musicals. I do like musicals, but I hold them to a very high standard.
In terms of plot or the songs themselves or just really everything?
Everything, honestly.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we should watch it and find out what you think.
I guess we should.
I read all about it. It's a big fake Hollywood set.
No, Mrs.
You think I want to think that he's really up there?
It's not John Glenn, Mrs. Turnblad.
Well, why are we watching this?
Luann.
Joey, Mikey,
Becky.
Jesse,
Darla.
Holly,
Noreen. Doreen.
Lynn.
And I'm Tracy!
Dance of the week?
I don't know what happened, Mr. Spritzer. Corny had some sort of aneurysm or something and picked her.
By our brand new council member, Miss Tracy Turnblad. So, Trace, cozy up to old Corny and tell us about yourself.
Well, I watched the Corny Collins show, and I do absolutely nothing else.
Ooh, Wilbur, to think that I almost stopped her from reaching for the stars.
And now, here she is on local daytime TV.
She's gonna be a regular.
Imagine my little girl, regular, at last.
I also hope to be the first woman president or a Rockette.
And if you were president, Tracy, what would your first official act be?
I'd make Everyday Negro Day.
Okay, so we have now watched the movie.
Yes, we have.
Before we get into discussing it at all, I do want to rectify an error that I made, an omission that I made in the intro. I did not mention that Zac Efron is in this movie.
Right.
There are so many people in this movie. I guess it's not surprising that I would have missed someone, and Zac Efron, unfortunately, was that person. But Zac Efron's in the movie.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He plays Link.
He plays Link Larkin. Okay, so now that I've done that, what did you think?
I thought it was cute. I wouldn't say it was amazing. It was fun. I was entertained. I wasn't really bored through most of it. I think it definitely walks that line between cheesy and campy and sincere in a way that is not my preference. I think more often than not, it lands on the cheesy side, on the intentionally cheesy side. And I don't like that. I appreciate sincerity in musicals, especially when something is trying too hard to be cheesy or campy. It feels forced and it doesn't feel sincere. And I think there's some moments that do that in the movie. I didn't get John Travolta. I feel like so much of John Travolta, there were so many shots of John Travolta that were like, this is funny. It's John Travolta, but he's a woman. And it felt like there was a lot of that where there's like reaction shots or the character doing something silly. What's the character's name?
Edna.
So Edna doing something silly or reacting in a way or mugging for the camera that seemed to only exist for a laugh or a reaction from the audience, and it got nothing from me. And aside from John Travolta's weird voice, the voice, Edna's voice is so weird. It's just a weird accent.
Supposedly, it is a Baltimore accent.
What?
I think that's what they were going for.
I have seen The Wire. That is not a Baltimore accent. Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine Bubbles from The Wire.
I haven't seen The Wire.
Like Edna. It's a really good show.
So I've heard.
That was the biggest thing for me because John Travolta has top billing. The Edna character is a big part of the musical. Edna didn't really work for me. I am sure that the tradition comes from Divine playing Edna in the original. So they carried that onto the musical and then they carried that onto this version. I don't know if anyone would have been any better because John Travolta has the Grease connection and the classic musical connection and can dance and can sort of sing. Edna has 2 songs and one of them did not sound great, but the other one was decent enough, I think. I also thought that Tracy, her unending positivity and optimism becomes grating by about the 3rd act of the movie. At first, it's fun and it's kind of like, oh, there's a super positive character and she's bouncing around all the time. And then by the 3rd act, you're like, Jesus, give it a break, Tracy.
Yeah. I can understand that.
But overall, it was fun. I wasn't miserable watching it. It was enjoyable. There weren't any super earwormy songs in a way that I would really like from a musical. But I did enjoy it.
Okay, well, that's good. I disagree with you about Edna.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so I think you're correct. The impression that I've gotten is that the character is played by a man in the tradition of the original Edna was Divine. The original Edna on Broadway was Harvey Fierstein. Why do I always say Stein? Fierstein.
Harvey Fierstein.
Yeah, and I think that they wanted to keep that tradition of Edna being played by a man. I think that John Travolta plays it really sincerely.
Well, I mean, it's not that he's not sincere. It's just that the movie, I don't think, knows what to do with that character.
I think that the character herself is supposed to be pretty quirky. And so I think that some of the things that you're thinking are the movie is saying, this is funny because he's a man. I mean, I'm not going to disagree that might be part of it because it is a female character being played by a man. And there is that drag legacy of it because of it originating with Divine. But I think that Edna herself is just supposed to be, she's a character.
She is.
She's a character.
She is. And I get that. And, it comes down to that intentionally cheesy line, and the movie really walks it, and I think more often than not falls on the too cheesy for Dan side. And I think Edna is part of that. But I think Travolta understood the assignment. And, the prosthetics, I do remember contemporarily them talking about the prosthetics to make Travolta look like a believable woman, and they do work well. He's dancing and he's moving around and he's got exposed legs and arms, and for the most part it does look pretty decent. And cleavage. Yeah, and it's not too far into the uncanny valley. You can tell something's kind of a little bit off, but I don't know, it's not unbelievable entirely. It's just there's so many moments where Edna is a quirky character, but then they cut to Edna being a quirky character and John Travolta mugging or scrunching up his face, or doing a little thing or making a little noise, a little Miss Piggy noise or something like that. And it's like, so that's the punchline, and that, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's not to your taste. I mean,
not.
I enjoy a little bit of campiness, and I think it's funny because I saw that Adam Shankman, the director, one of the assignments that he was given was to tone down the campiness of the original movie.
Wow.
So we can only guess how over the top the movie must have been.
The studio gave that assignment?
I think so.
Or?
I don't remember exactly, but it was specified that he was supposed to tone down the campiness.
Interesting.
The intentional campiness.
I wonder if it would have worked better if they leaned harder into it.
Maybe.
And I wonder if maybe that's the problem, in that by not fully committing to the camp and fully committing to the cheese.
I think that there's a kind of saccharine quality to this movie because of Tracy's optimism, and there is sincerity, but balanced with the kind of quirky campiness. I think maybe that's what is not working for you so much, as if it were just like, it's just all ridiculous, all over the top, which I think is what the original movie sounds like it may have been. And I definitely take your point about Tracy. I will agree that she is overly optimistic. And if I love this movie, I will not deny it. But if there is one big problem that I have, the way I would summarize it is that Tracy is a teenage white savior who solves segregation through dance. It's a little overly simplistic.
It is. And that I was also wondering, I'm like, is there subtext to this that I'm missing? The movie opens up, and the very first shot of the movie is a newspaper talking about segregation. And my first thought was, that's just to place you in time and to give you an idea. But then you jump into one of the first songs, the second song, which is the nicest kids in town. The nicest kids in town, and segregation is front and center in that song. And
nice
I was like,
white kids who like to lead the way.
And that's when I'm like, oh, okay, that's what this movie is about. That was the moment when I'm like, okay, I get it. I get what this movie is. And that's the text. It's front and center in the text. If there's subtext other than horny lyrics, I missed it. So it wasn't particularly obvious. And I don't know if maybe that's something where the subtext got whittled down or
you're referring to
down.
Queer subtext specifically, because you mentioned that in the intro.
I mentioned that was a likelihood just because of John Waters' involvement. And I could see segregation being a stand-in for queer acceptance in the 1980s. So I would wonder if there was maybe a more subtle satirical element or a more subtle subtext that has gotten watered down and lost waters down through the different adaptations, because we're seeing something that's 2 degrees removed from the original. And I would wonder if maybe there was a lot more substance to the original, or again, John Waters is also known for embracing camp. I mentioned the Simpsons episode, and that's a big part of his character in the Simpsons episode. And I wonder if maybe the original, there isn't any deeper context to it. It's just that it's campy and queer people love camp. So it just got embraced and then they ran with it. So I don't know.
And that could be the case. And I do kind of wish that I had maybe watched the original. I read about it, but reading about a movie doesn't give you a clear understanding of what the feeling of it is going to be. But there's a spoken line just before the song Welcome to the 60s, where Tracy says, people who are different, their time is coming. So I think that is kind of like a thesis statement and could be tied into a bunch of different groups. But I agree with you that if there is any queer subtext, it's very, you'd have to really look for it, I think, personally.
So 2007 was the end of the Bush era. It's not like things were particularly queer friendly back then. You mentioned I Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. That was the height of straight people's tolerance for gay marriage. Was Kevin James in a comedy about a sham marriage. I do wonder if some of that is the time and place of it and how much of the edges got sanded down during
That's a good
the
question. I wish I
adaptation.
could answer it. So you mentioned that you don't think that there were any earworm songs. I guess I kind of agree with that. And in particular, because, and you mentioned this in the intro, we just saw Wicked, and I have not been able to get Defying Gravity out of my head since we saw Wicked a few nights ago. There aren't really any songs in Hairspray that I feel like I can't get out of my head, but I think plenty of them are toe tappers, and
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy the songs. So were there any songs that you particularly like?
I did like the song The Nicest Kids You Know.
The Nicest Kids in Town.
The Nicest Kids in Town.
You're thinking of The Whitest Kids You Know. Tie-in.
Right. The Nicest Kids in Town was a good song, and then it got to the terrible segregationist lyrics, and I was like, oh, this is not something that you could sing along comfortably in a car.
Yeah.
And I feel like that probably hampers it a little bit. I also did enjoy Without Love. I thought Without Love was the best staged song. It felt the most like they were making the most of the medium and not just adapting a stage musical. But yeah, the songs were, solid B minus. Again, nothing that was just, I'm not going to catch myself humming it later or listening to the soundtrack or anything like that, I think.
Okay, you're going to catch me humming. I will hum.
What's the finale song?
You Can't Stop the Beat.
You Can't Stop the Beat. That I think I have heard before, and I don't know where. And the introduction, I think, where all of the dance kids say their names and then Link sounds off, I think that became a viral TikTok sound for a while. I think people were using that to introduce people and make a joke out of it. That became a TikTok sound, I'm pretty sure. So
I'm not up on the TikTok, so
because you're 102.
Because I'm 102. I had mentioned when I asked you if you had any ideas what the movie was about that I thought you might be surprised by some of the themes. So the racial aspect of the movie is really what I was referring to. It jumps into that pretty quickly. Were you surprised that that's what the movie was going to be about?
As soon as I saw Tracy, I remembered that the theme of, I'm going to settle on a word here. I'm worried about saying, I don't know. I don't want to say overweight.
I think they say that she's pleasantly plump.
Pleasantly plump. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I think that's what I read.
A plus size girl.
Plus size. That's
we'll just say a plus size girl.
Plus size girl.
I remembered, as soon as I saw Tracy, I remembered the advertising featuring more about a plus size girl dancing. And then I thought, oh, that's what this is going to be about. And then it jumps into The Nicest Kids in Town. And I'm like, oh no, that's what this is about. And it was, as you said, overall, the theme is there is a place for people who aren't conventional. And, there's a place for people who aren't necessarily the same as everyone else. Was it surprising after that point? No. Was I like, scandalized? No, because it's...
Well, I think overall, that this is a heartwarming movie. It's a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
But I take issue with the simplicity of the subject matter, which I mentioned before. And I mean, I've seen some white supremacists, and I don't think that being overweight predisposes you to tolerance. So I think that's a little bit, it's a stretch. It's a stretch.
Do you think that that's the movie predisposes Tracy to...
I think that they are saying that Tracy understands what it's like to be different because she is plus size. It's clear that she's not racist. It's clear that she's not racist.
Right.
But I do think that there is messaging in the movie that suggests that part of the reason that she is as accepting as she is and as open-minded as she is because she understands what it's like to be different. And I just don't know that those are comparable.
No, they're not. I didn't get that from the movie. My takeaway was that she was just whatever. Like she was just unendingly optimistic, and it was almost secondary that she happened to be plus size. And the movie didn't really seem, because Amanda Bynes and Zac Efron both get on board relatively quickly.
True.
I mean, Zac Efron has his little moment of doubt and going along in the second act, but Amanda Bynes also goes along with it really quickly.
That's fair.
But yeah, you're right. Some of the white savior aspects of it maybe don't seem so great in hindsight.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of those things where that's something that when you compare it to a show that we watched together, Mad Men, that really does deal with the tumultuousness of that time in a realistic way, and also does manage to find some humor in it. And then this movie treats it with a very candy sheen in a very almost simplistic way. Some of that doesn't necessarily feel good. It almost feels like the movie is a little bit like, yay, white people.
There is that. And I think even at the very end of the movie, when they've all come together and the Corny Collins show is integrated and they're all dancing on the stage together, and there is a feeling of, oh, yay, this is so happy. And then
Racism
the reality
is solved
yeah,
forever.
exactly. And then the reality of the world sets in and you're like, oh, yeah, okay. So it's overly simplistic. That is my big issue with it.
How do you do a feel-good musical about racism?
You don't. And I mean, right. Yeah. It's going to have problems.
I think that maybe necessarily hasn't done it any favors in the aging department either. But, I was entertained. It was fun. I rolled my eyes at John Travolta's mugging, but I also didn't ever really tune out. So.
Okay.
You could tell that it was directed by a choreographer. There was a lot of focus on the dancing, sometimes to the detriment of the film. The dancing was front and center, and that's why Without Love stood out to me, because Without Love, there wasn't any dancing really.
Not
And it
really.
was
Much
more
less dancing.
It was more like a movie musical. It was staged more like a movie musical, where a lot of the other ones were staged like a Broadway musical that we happened to catch on film, and not necessarily in a bad way. Again, the choreography was really good and very impressive. I think that would maybe be the standout thing of the movie. But again, the movie was fine, B minus, C plus, somewhere around there. It was
B minus. Don't go as low as C plus.
C plus is still C plus is passing. C plus is Tracy would have killed for a C plus sleeping through class as much as she did.
I guess that's fair, but I'm not Tracy. I was an A student.
Do you find yourself identifying with Tracy a little bit? Somebody who loves to dance and is overwhelmingly positive?
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Overwhelmingly positive and maybe a little too nice for your own good.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah. I think I identify more with Edna, if I'm being honest.
Aw. Because you haven't left home in 9 years?
Yeah. I live here in this room that we're in right now. I never leave it. No, I like her style. Actually, I love Queen Latifah's style. She is my style icon.
Okay.
In this movie. Her leopard print caftan. The fur trimmed caftan at the end. Yes, please. But I can't really say that I can't pick her as the character that I relate the most to because of, the themes of the movie.
Right. And the whiteness of you.
And the whiteness of me, exactly. Yeah, correct. Okay, so let's recap the movie.
Let's.
We open on Baltimore, Maryland in 1962.
Flying down from the clouds, which I wondered if it was a Grease reference.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Because
maybe.
Yeah, I think, when you're doing movie musicals set in the 60s, but also John Travolta is present.
Yeah, that could be. I didn't think about that. We know that it's Baltimore in 1962 because of the newspaper headline. The newspaper shows the date, and it's the Baltimore Sun, and we see the headline about segregation. And then we meet our main character, Tracy, and we really know it's Baltimore because she sings a whole song to the city. Good morning, Baltimore.
I do think one of the advantages that musicals have is you can do an exposition song.
Yes.
That's something
absolutely.
That's something that's hard when you're not doing a musical. You've got to work in awkward dialogue or just hope that the audience catches up. But in a musical, you can do a whole ass song, to get everyone caught up about who your main character is and where the setting is and set the stage for everything.
Yes. And Good Morning Baltimore is a very expositional song. We learn that Tracy wants to dance and she likes her hair and she's very pleasant and she's going through and feeding rats and greeting flashers. Played by John Waters.
We have the John Waters cameo
as
the flasher.
That's what I was referring to when I said that he was involved to the extent that he appears in the movie. It doesn't sound like he was really involved on the creative side.
Yeah, he's not really credited for anything.
Well, one of the things that I read is that when Adam Shankman was hired to direct the movie, he did reach out to John Waters, who told him to make this his own. So said, don't do the original movie, don't do the Broadway musical, do your own thing with
Interesting.
this. So, and apparently Adam Shankman said, well, it all leads back to John Waters. So I don't think it's super different than the other versions, but that may have been why he wasn't involved on the creative side, because he wanted it to be its own thing. Tracy gets to school and
I thought it was funny during this song when she misses her bus and then she makes the garbage truck stop. And I wrote down, I want to see a cut where Tracy gets run over by the garbage truck.
oh,
So she's just in the middle of her song and the garbage truck doesn't stop.
oh my God, that's terrible, but that's really funny.
What if that's the movie? The movie is that like she actually does get hit by the garbage truck and she's hallucinating the rest of the movie in her hospital bed.
Death throes.
She's in a coma.
And she becomes famous. It is her wildest dream. But no, she does in fact get a ride on the garbage truck. She gets to school where we see her zoning out and just waiting for the bell to ring so that she can run home to watch the Corny Collins show with her best friend, Penny Pingleton, played by Amanda Bynes.
I had 2 notes from school. One was inappropriate hair height,
Yes.
which I just thought was funny.
Yes.
That's something that you could get cited for in Baltimore in 1962, apparently. And also, the teacher was saying the highest point on Earth is not Mount Everest. And I was like, wait, is it not Mount Everest?
I thought it was Mount Everest too. Did you look it up?
No, I didn't. I was like, but wait,
I think it's Mount Everest.
So what is it?
Maybe that was to denote that in 1960s they thought something else. I don't know. Let me hold on. I got to look this up now. It's Mount Everest. However, Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador is the furthest point on Earth from its center because it's located near the equator where the Earth bulges. Maybe that's what she was talking about. Bulges. Anyway, yes. Inappropriate hair height is a funny joke, to go back to that for a moment, because it is the 60s and they have big hair. And Tracy really wants her hair to be nice and big. That's an important point throughout the movie.
Yes. When she's watching the Corny Collins show, Corny Collins played by James Marsden. I didn't know Cyclops could sing. He plays Cyclops in the 2000s X-Men movies.
Okay.
So he was the first person to play live action, the character of Scott Summers, Cyclops, in the X-Men movies.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I'm sure you're shocked.
I am not at all shocked. I feel like James Marsden is perpetually underrated.
I love James Marsden.
He's great whenever he shows up in anything. He is easy on the eyes.
He is very handsome.
As a heterosexual man, I will still say, might.
He is.
So, but yeah,
agreed.
And apparently he can also sing and dance. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I really like him in this role. I think he's really fun as Corny.
He is, and he does a good job. I think he finds that thread and finds the right side of the cheesy, sincere side. He is, to me, one of the best things about this movie. He works really well, and he does a good job anchoring the movie.
Yeah, love him. So he is the host of a teenage dance show. I guess that was a thing in the 60s. It sounds like this was based on some actual show where kids American Bandstand was a thing. That's not what I read that it was based on, but isn't that what American Bandstand is?
It did have, I think, kids dancing, but there was a lot. I mean, there was the Mickey Mouse Club, there was American Bandstand. Do I think that it's out of the realm of possibility for a local TV station to have a show featuring teenagers dancing on afternoons? No, I don't.
This is where we get the song The Nicest Kids in Town. Also pretty expositional. We learn what the format of the show is and that these are nice white kids, as I've referenced a couple of times already. There's a reference to Negro Day, which happens once a month. We get introduced to all of the council members, as they're called, so all of the kids who appear on the show. Most importantly of whom are Amber, played by Brittany Snow, and I'm Link, played by Zac Efron.
Right.
Tracy and her best friend, Penny, are at Tracy's house watching the show and dancing. And this is where we meet her mother, Edna, played by John Travolta, who is a laundress and does not have time for Tracy's dancing, singing ambitions.
Edna has no chill, at least in the beginning of the movie.
No, Edna has no chill.
Edna has no chill and totally rats out Amanda Bynes
Immediately.
to her mother, played by
The great Allison Janney.
Yes.
She is, I mentioned in the intro that she was last on my list because she has such a small part, but she does such a good job with it.
She's Allison Janney.
She's Allison Janney. She's amazing.
You didn't watch The West Wing, so how do you know Allison Janney?
Well, I know her from I, Tonya.
Okay, yeah.
She was very prominent in I, Tonya.
Yeah.
And then I think she was the, you've seen 10 Things I Hate About You.
No, I actually haven't.
You haven't seen that?
No,
okay, well, she's in that. And
you.
she also has a small role in that, but a very memorable one. And I just feel like there's other things that I've seen her in that I can't remember offhand, but.
I mean, she's always been a fantastic character actress, but, she was very prominent as C.J. Craig in The West Wing.
And I've heard that, yes. Oh, she was on Lost, again, just in one episode. One episode, but great.
But
she's
a terrible
great.
Episode.
Well, it's a terrible episode, but she's great. She's great in everything I've ever seen her in. And yes, she is Prudy Pinkleton. She's Penny's mother. And she is very...
Prudy.
She is very prudish. Yes, she's religious and does not allow Penny to listen to quote unquote race music. And she is stunned to discover that Penny is hanging out at Tracy's watching the Courtney Collins show. And there's really not much point to this scene where she's at the house other than to
well, Penny is always getting in trouble.
Penny is afraid of her mother and rebelling against her mother, and
Edna has no chill.
What
do you mean? Penny didn't have permission to be here? That voice.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good impression.
I was earning.
How am I supposed to negotiate pleats? So then we cut to Tracy and Penny watching the show at the television store, I guess, to avoid getting in trouble with Edna because Penny, now she knows that Penny's not allowed. And they see that one of the council members is going to be taking a little hiatus for just 9 months or so. And they're going to be holding auditions for the show. So Tracy goes to the audition. She does take Penny with her. And this is where we get to see more of a character that we have already met, Velma Von Tussle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
She is great.
She is great.
She plays a fantastic bad guy. And watching this, I was thinking, boy, I wish I had seen her in more things because she is such a good screen presence. She is magnetic in a way that few other people are. In this movie, especially, there's something about her screen presence that's just really, really good. And I was thinking about it and I was like, I actually haven't seen that many Michelle Pfeiffer movies.
I haven't either. Can you think of anything else that you have seen?
Well, I mean, Batman Returns, obviously. Oh, Dangerous Minds. It's been a long time since I've seen that. Speaking of white savior movies.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. She's a teacher in that, right?
Yes.
In an inner city school.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and she does show up in the Marvel movies, but in a smaller part. I forgot. Apparently, she's in the Kenneth Branagh Murder on the Orient Express. I had forgotten about that.
I didn't see that.
So, she's a fantastic presence, but apparently not a very memorable one.
Well, I think she's pretty memorable in this movie because she does play a fantastic villain.
She also understood the assignment.
So she's the station manager and she's also Amber's mother. And she's had a couple of lines up to this point that she is not interested in the race music, as Prudy Pingleton is not, and, doesn't want to see certain types of dancing on the show. At the audition, she sings Miss Baltimore Crabs, which is a song about how she slept her way to the pageant title. This is just to show that she is ruthless and to, I think, give her character a chance to have a solo. She's not a nice person. And then we see that applied to some of the contestants for the slot on the show, including Tracy. She and Amber and some of the other council members are picking on her for her weight. They pick on a girl who appears to be Jewish. Then they ask if they would swim in an integrated pool. And Tracy says, I'm all for integration. It's the new frontier. And that, combined with her appearance, gets her rejected from the show. She goes to school. She's late. So she ends up in detention, where she meets Seaweed, who is played by Elijah Kelly, who is a newcomer, I believe.
He was great.
He was great. I love him.
He had great screen presence, was a really good singer and dancer.
Yes.
So you could tell he was somebody, I didn't know if he came from the stage side or not, but he had really good musical energy.
He's also very handsome. Lots of male eye candy in this movie. So the detention room is primarily occupied by Black students, and they are dancing. Because they're not supervised.
Right.
I never had detention like that.
No, anytime I had detention, you had to be very quiet. There was a board teacher there who was making sure that no one was having any fun. So
exactly.
She sees the Black kids in the detention room and
she likes their style of dancing.
Yeah.
And she starts to try to emulate what Seaweed is doing. And some of the other kids are like, oh, you can't do that. And Seaweed's like, hold on now. She's doing pretty good. So they're dancing together. They're having a great time. Link shows up and tells Tracy that Corny is going to be hosting a dance, and if he sees her dancing like she just was, he's going to put her on the show. So she goes to this. It looks kind of like a competition because they're all standing in line, but I don't think it's actually supposed to be a competition. It's really,
you would know more than me.
I don't know, because he calls it a hop. I think Link's like, Corny's hosting a hop. I don't really know what the format of those typically was, because despite being 102, I was not present.
You didn't get out much.
I didn't get out much. Correct. So anyway, she finds Seaweed and wants to dance together to show Corny the dance moves. But Seaweed says, we can't dance together, but you can borrow my moves. She does the moves. Corny is really excited about it. He's like, yeah. The song that's happening here is Lady's Choice. Zac Efron is singing this. Apparently, this was an addition for the movie. So Lady's Choice is not in the musical.
Okay. Yeah, always got to have that one Oscar bait song.
I love this song. I think it's fun. So then it cuts to Penny running through the streets of Baltimore screaming for Mr. and Mrs. Turnblad. I don't think that we've actually said Tracy's last name. Tracy Turnblad.
Right.
Is the main character. So Penny is running through the streets screaming for them and shows them that Tracy has gotten on to the Corny Collins show.
Everyone needs a best friend like Penny.
Yes.
Penny is ridiculously loyal and goes along with Tracy pretty much every step of the way without question, and risks getting in trouble and is just like the best friend.
Yeah, she's great. I realize I missed a song. After Link approaches Tracy in the detention room, we have the song I Can Hear the Bells, because she's already been shown to have a crush on Link.
Right.
But she has this whole fantasy song about how they're gonna go out on a date and then they're gonna get married, and it's her traipsing through the school in a daze.
That's the one I was
daydreaming of her future with Link. I love that song.
It's cute.
I like it. My favorite moment in that scene is when she's in the bathroom with the girls who are smoking, who are clearly like the cool girls.
And she comes out with the toilet paper.
Yeah, she has a toilet paper veil and a toilet paper bouquet of flowers,
Yeah.
and she tosses the bouquet, and one of the smoking girls catches it. It's just like, what? It's
That
fun.
was a cute moment.
It's fun. So, yeah, then we have the hop and Lady's Choice, and then we find out she's on the show. And Michelle Pfeiffer is trying to explain to the station, she's the station manager, so I guess he's the station owner.
What's that character actor's name?
Oh, Paul Dooley. She's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why he picked her. On stage, Corny asks Tracy a little bit about herself, including what she would do if she were president. And she says, I'd make Everyday Negro Day. Which horrifies Velma and Paul Dooley.
Right.
We get to see Negro Day, which apparently is unique to the movie. Negro Day is a thing in both the original movie and the musical, where they are talking about how there is a day that is for the black dancers, but it's never shown.
Really?
So this is the first time that it is shown.
That's the song New Girl in Town.
New Girl in Town, which is, I have always loved the way that it starts with Amber and two of the other white girls singing a very poppy version of New Girl in Town, and then
it gets
transitions to the more
soul version.
And then we find out that the black girls who are performing the song, that they wrote the song. And so that's when we're seeing Negro Day, hosted by Motormouth Maybelle, who was played by Queen Latifah. And I've always loved that transition. Their version is much better. I enjoy it much more.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that they don't ever show it in the original or the Broadway play.
We get a little tension between Maybelle and Velma because Velma's mad that the girls perform the same song. That's when we learn that they wrote it. And Maybelle says to Seaweed, who is her son, I don't think that's made clear until later, but he is, that they're just trying to get their foot in the door to bigger and better things.
Right.
Back at the Turnblad residence, Edna takes a call from Mr. Pinky at the dress shop called Mr. Pinky's Hefty Hideaway, and they want Tracy to be their spokesgirl.
So Jerry Stiller is playing Mr. Pinky.
Jerry Stiller's playing Mr. Pinky. Jerry Stiller was Wilbur Turnblad, Tracy's father, in the 1988 movie.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. So the Christopher Walken character, that was Jerry Stiller in the original movie.
Okay. I was wondering, in the original movie, was John Waters Mr. Pinky? It almost seemed like Jerry Stiller was doing a bit of a John Waters impression, and the way he was groomed and the way he was acting, I'm like, is he
I don't think he
being
was.
John Waters?
John Waters did have a brief role in the original movie, but he plays a psychiatrist who tries to therapize Penny into only wanting to date white guys. That happens later on. So he plays a quack psychiatrist, is how he's described.
That definitely lends some credence to the queer subtext of the original, because that sounds a lot like conversion therapy.
Yep. But I don't think that he also played Mr. Pinky. I'm not sure who did.
We haven't talked about Christopher Walken.
We haven't talked about Christopher Walken. I'm trying to think, because
He's been around a little bit.
he has been around. Yeah.
If you want a period piece dad, 1960s dad who is obsessed with his wife and really into her, you could do a lot worse than Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, you know, if I had a nickel for every time Chris Walken played a dad in the 1960s who was obsessed with his wife, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Well, what's the other one?
Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So to talk about Christopher Walken for a minute, he owns a joke shop that is below their apartment.
A what? I'm sorry.
A joke shop.
You said a joke shop.
A joke shop. He owns a joke shop below their apartment called the Hardy Har Hut. He's very supportive when Tracy wants to audition for the Corny Collins show. Edna is pretty resistant to the idea. She's worried that Tracy is going to be rejected for her size, which of course is what happens at first. And her father, Wilbur, tells her that she needs to go for it and dream big. And he's very supportive of her. So when Mr. Pinky calls wanting Tracy to be a spokesgirl, Edna says that she needs to get a manager. And Tracy suggests that Edna should be her manager because who's going to look out for me better than my mom? But Edna doesn't want to leave the house because she apparently hasn't since 1951. And she's afraid to go out. She doesn't want to be seen at her current size. So this leads to Welcome to the 60s.
Yeah, which is it was a fun song about progressivism. And one of the songs when I was wondering, I'm like, is this where the subtext is? Because if you squint, you could kind of see like, all right, maybe we're talking about things other than segregation in the 1960s, but you do have to squint pretty hard.
Yeah, you do.
And it's also Edna's arc at this point should be emotional. And I feel like it's played for laughs. I feel like there's a lot of Edna mugging and Edna making faces, and it should be a sweet moment that she's coming out of the house for the first time in 11 years to support her daughter. And it should be a big moment when she starts renegotiating the contract with Mr. Pinky. And it just doesn't feel like a real emotional beat, which is, I think, one of the problems of the movie. When you're trying to be overly saccharine and you're trying too hard to be a feel-good movie, it means that the emotional beats aren't there. So that didn't land with me.
Okay, that's fair. This is not my favorite scene in the movie, not my favorite song. And I guess I sort of agree. I hadn't ever really thought about it in any detail, but I also don't think that this scene works super well. And that might be why I've had that feeling. So there is a moment very soon, though, where I do feel a very emotional connection to Edna. So we'll get to that in just a second. But I do want to say that when Mr. Pinky calls and Tracy finds out that they want her to be a spokesgirl, she says, "Tell me I get a new caftan, tell me." And I thought that was very relatable. But Welcome to the 60s is kind of just, it's about people who are different. You know, the 60s are more open-minded, they're more welcoming to people, but the scene is Tracy and Edna walking through the streets of Baltimore to the dress shop, and we're just seeing some pretty 60s things, like a convertible with a bunch of children not strapped in and pregnant women drinking martinis
At a bar.
So it's just the 60s were different. Look at all this funny stuff.
Right.
Edna's like, "Oh, they're so glamorous." And then we see their big pregnant bellies. I thought that was pretty funny. We get to the dress shop. Edna is a pretty hard-nosed negotiator with Mr. Pinky. So far, she's been pretty meek. And when she gets there, she's like, "No, I want this and this and this." And she wants Mr. Pinky to throw in a new bustier.
I want a non-exclusive contract. And the weird button on the scene is them discussing her bra size, which is just weird.
Yeah. She wants a 15% commission. He says not a dime over 10. She says throw in a new bustier. And then he asks if she's 54 double D.
Yeah.
And she says triple E.
Triple E.
And then he says, "I've hit the mother load." I don't really know why.
It's such a weird, I don't know. This is a good point as any to discuss that the movie walks a very fine line between body positivity and haha fat person.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely true.
And it really, it falls on the haha fatty side more often than
I think
not,
I think it leans too hard into that, and it ends up being a little bit like, we get it, she's fat.
Yeah, I think to the movie's credit, it doesn't really play up Tracy's size for laughs, but I do feel like a lot of light is made of Edna's weight in a not really great way.
No.
And the movie, and the attempts to make it like, yeah, it's fine that Edna is the size that she is, there's a lot of jokes about it that don't land. I don't really think fat jokes are all that funny. You know, they peaked with Fat Bastard and Austin Powers, and like that's kind of the end of it. Like it's like, all right, that's the end of fat jokes.
Yeah.
After that, it's just like, haha, fatty, fall down, and those. Yeah, I don't know. They've had their time in the sun.
I think
like
it
a
goes
beached whale.
I'm shaking my head. I think it just goes too far.
Yeah.
It's okay at the beginning that there are some jokes, but then there's the bit where Queen Latifah entices her to stay because there's food.
Yeah.
And
there's
just a lot of jokes about her eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is also maybe a little bit different than just joking about her size. That makes it more pointed. So I agree with you. But while they're at the dress shop, Edna gets a makeover. She gets a new shiny dress. Tracy gets a matching dress. And they're having a great time. And Edna's happy to be out in the 60s. But then they go to a diner and Velma and Amber show up. And Velma makes Edna feel bad about herself. Mm-hmm. And this is the moment that I was referring to after Velma walks away. And she said something, it's underhanded. It's not outright rude. She says, "You'll stop traffic," but the undertone is clear. And Edna starts crying and she says, "I'm taking this back." I really related to that feeling of, I was excited about this, but now someone's made me feel self-conscious and I want to forget about it. So that was the emotional beat that resonated with me. Back at school, we see more evidence of Amber's jealousy and dislike of Tracy because she is spreading rumors about her and then throws her under the bus to a teacher, making it sound like she's drawn an offensive...
Not even thrown under the bus, just straight up lied.
Oh, yeah, she straight up lied.
The teacher is just like, whatever. Like the worst teacher ever.
Well, it was the 60s. So Tracy gets sent to detention again, and Link curses at the teacher so that he will also be sent to detention. Link tries to dance with Seaweed and the others.
But he didn't even need to do that because Penny just shows up.
Yeah, I know. Penny does just come to detention, and Tracy's like, "She's with me." But Penny and Seaweed have met, and it's clear that they're interested in each other. So now in this scene, Link and Tracy go to detention. Link's trying to dance. He's not doing the dances correctly, so he's kind of out of place. But then Seaweed invites Tracy, Link, and Penny to a platter party at his mom's store.
Oh, it was specifically a platter party? Mm-hmm. I was wondering because it seemed like a dance party, and then there was a giant table of delicious looking soul food. But my thought was, why is there a buffet of soul food at the record store?
No, he says, so the record store is Maybell's, and he says, "My mom's having a platter party tonight."
Okay, I missed that.
And then you should come along. Tracy and Penny are ecstatic to be...
I'm getting hungry thinking about that food.
I know, my stomach just growled. But Penny and Tracy are ecstatic to be invited to a black party. Mm-hmm. Link is a little bit nervous, but he agrees to come along. And this leads into the song Run and Tell That. This is a great song. There's great dancing. Seaweed singing is wonderful. And we also meet his sister, Lil Inez, who apparently is introduced earlier in the stage musical.
Which makes sense because she does end up being a more central figure, it feels.
She does, but it sounds like her role is different in the stage musical versus the movie musical. But in the stage version, she is also at the auditions earlier on and is rejected for being black. And
I do remember thinking, oh yeah, Queen Latifah can sing, huh?
Queen Latifah can sing.
Yeah.
Boy, can she. She's great.
Yeah.
I love her. She's great in Chicago and she's great in this. And they're at the platter party. And meanwhile, Amber, who saw Link leaving with Seaweed and the others, has called Tracy's mother, disguising her voice, to tell her that she has entered a hotbed of moral turpentine.
Right.
So Edna goes down to the record store.
This is also the scene that you referenced in our first episode.
It is, yes, because when Seaweed introduces Tracy and Penny to his mother, Penny says, "I'm very pleased and scared to be here." I got the first word wrong. I said excited and scared to be here, but the gist was the same. Edna goes down to the record store to drag Tracy out of there, but Maybelle says, "Are you sure you wouldn't like a little something to eat?"
Right.
And then it's a moment of Edna making eyes at the food.
Is it braised?
Is that braised? And she grabs something and just starts chowing down while Maybelle sings Big, Blonde, and Beautiful, which this is a song that is about food. There are many references to food, but it is a very sexual song. And I think it's a very sexy song. Honestly. I don't know. Maybe it's just Queen Latifah makes it kind of sexy, but it's sensual. It's about food, but it's very sensual. We find out why the party's being thrown. Maybelle says that it's to celebrate an ending, and she reveals that Negro Day has been canceled, and she wanted to just have a party and let everybody have some fun before she told them that that was the case. Tracy white saviors it up and says they should march on the station to protest the ending of Negro Day. And Queen Latifah is like, yeah, that's a great idea that she couldn't have come up with herself. I'm thinking she could have. I mean,
right.
She's, first of all, an adult. And
yeah.
Second of all, I mean, why is Tracy the one who needs to have this idea? But
because she has main character energy.
Yes.
And I mean that in the pejorative sense. She really does.
No, for sure. So they plan to march on the station. Queen Latifah starts shouting out when and where they should meet. And Tracy asks Link if he's going to be there. And he doesn't want to jeopardize his chances of being seen by an agent.
Being a local celebrity.
Tracy's very disappointed. And they all kind of go their separate ways. Meanwhile, Velma shows up at the joke shop. And she is there to seduce Wilbur.
Yeah, what exactly was her plan here? I mean, it did work, but not in the way that she planned it to work, because she goes through this whole bit of trying to seduce Wilbur and it not really working. And then she falls on him, and coincidentally, that's right when Edna walks in, and then she tries to make Edna think that Wilbur is cheating on her, which does lead Edna to saying to Tracy, you can't go on that show, which was, I think, what she was trying to do. But what was her actual plan going to be?
At first, I thought maybe she was trying specifically to time it so that Edna would be getting back.
But Edna was home.
Well, Edna was home. Yeah, I'm not sure. But maybe it was that. Maybe she expected it to work. And then she was going to reveal to Edna that she had seduced her husband.
But like, again, Edna has the opposite reaction, which is it's obvious that Velma doesn't want Tracy on the show. So I would think Edna's reaction should be, you need to go and show that woman.
Yeah, but I mean, we know that that's not going to be how Edna reacts, because she's Edna, and we've gotten to know her as a character and know that she's a bit.
Do we know Edna as a character at this point? Because it's like she's character
very self-conscious.
She's self-conscious about her weight, and she has a weird voice, and she's kind of shy sometimes until she isn't, and then she is again. So that's really all we know about Edna as a character.
I guess that's true, but to me, it tracks that she would be devastated by this news and that her reaction would be to pull Tracy off the show instead of encouraging her to best the Von Tussles.
But that is the scene that I was thinking, oh, it was fun to see because Christopher Walken and Michelle Pfeiffer were in Batman Returns together.
Oh, okay.
So it's fun to see them reunited. And that's the scene that Michelle Pfeiffer really is magnetic and has a fun screen presence and is very, very good seductive energy.
Yes.
And playing off Chris Walken just being a clueless comedic doof.
Yeah.
It's a cute scene. It's a very funny scene. It's
sweet. And yeah, Edna is getting ready to go and try and seduce Wilbur herself because the food has put her in the mood for some lovin', which doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But
yeah, that's when you feel the sexiest, is after fried chicken and cornbread.
Yeah.
No, that's when you feel like you need a nap.
But we get a reprise of Big, Blonde, and Beautiful. And then Edna walks into the joke shop and she sees them in a compromising position. She freaks out, tells Tracy she can't go back on the show. Tracy goes to visit her father in the joke shop because he is now sleeping there on a bed of whoopee cushions. Because Edna's changed the locks. And I was like, how did she do that so fast?
Right.
It's nighttime.
That does seem very fast. From the movie, it almost seems like this all happens in the span of a single night, and changing the locks seemed...
I don't think you even get a locksmith to come and do that at night.
So, yeah, they have their little discussion, and Tracy encourages Wilbur to come back home, and Wilbur tries to get back in the good graces of Edna with a sweet song, which is where I noted that Christopher Walken is an amazing dancer and a terrible lip syncer. He is not at all in sync with his performance during that song. And that's the song that's also very problematic, where it is walking the line between body positivity and haha fatty. And very much there's a lot of haha fatty in that song.
There is. I think its heart is in the right place. I think it's
your 2007, maybe.
You're Timeless to me is the song, and it is sweet, but yeah, it's also a bit problematic.
Yeah. And then I wondered at the end of the song, does the movie chicken out on having Christopher Walken and John Travolta kiss, or did John Travolta chicken out? Because
I don't know the answer to that question, but
famously,
it's a good one.
People have wondered if John Travolta is being closeted and hiding behind Scientology, or it was also 2007, and is the movie gonna risk having an on-screen kiss between two biological men? I don't think Christopher Walken, I think it's safe to say after watching Severance that Chris Walken was game, because Chris Walken does play a gay man in Severance. He does,
but Severance is from 2022, and this was 2007, so he may have
evolved, but yeah,
gotten more open to certain types of roles in the 15 years between them.
The movie really does chicken out because they get very close to kissing and then they just turn the lights out. And it's glaringly obvious in hindsight now that really does stand out. Like, just have the characters kiss, man.
I remember that scene from when I watched it in the theater and wondering if they were going to go there, and then they do not. The next scene is the characters meeting to march.
This scene was one of the most poorly staged scenes in the movie, and it actually made me angry.
Okay, tell me why. Talk to me.
Because every other character is wearing muted tones and during the march, and they put Tracy in a white blouse. Everyone else is wearing muted colors, and during the march they have the song that Queen Latifah is lead on, and the way it's framed, she's center frame, there's close-ups of her, Tracy is just singing backup. This is not Tracy's moment. Tracy pops on screen distractingly, and it is annoying because it is centering Tracy's character at a moment that's not Tracy's for a lot of different reasons. I don't even think it was intentional.
Tracy is wearing a white blouse pretty much every time we see her.
Yeah.
So, and not to say that they could have rethought that, but I don't
put all of the other characters in white.
Right.
Like, there are scenes of civil rights marches and they're all wearing white shirts and ties, and so then you have all the characters wearing white so they don't stand out. If that's your motif, or we're going to keep Tracy in a white blouse. But it seemed intentional or thoughtless in a very bad way, because Queen Latifah is front and center. Queen Latifah is the focus of the shot, and my eyes are completely drawn to Tracy, who is just singing and oh, and like just doing backup. She's just doing backup song stuff. I don't think the intention was for her to be the focus of those shots, but that white blouse made her pop in every single fucking shot. And it is bad. It's so bad because she's one of the few white people. I think there were a couple other, well, Edna's there also, but there were a couple of other.
In purple, which is a muted
color. It's a darker color.
Dark,
and it's, again, she only stands out because John Travolta is a 6'3" giant woman. But yeah, Tracy unnecessarily becomes the focus of every single shot. And it really stands out, especially when it would cut to a close-up and you only see Queen Latifah and then, the extras in the background. But then it cuts back to, again, an angled shot of Queen Latifah next to Tracy. And Tracy's right there, just blinding white and just broadcasting, look at me.
Well, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but something that I did learn when I was researching the different versions of this story is that apparently there was resistance to this song, which is called I Know Where I've Been, when they wrote it for the stage musical, because Tracy is the main character. And I can't remember now exactly who it was, but there were some, it's not studio people because it was for the stage, but
backers
that thought that Tracy should have the 11 o'clock number, which this is considered to be the 11 o'clock number in the show. So you saying this now does make me think about that, because I am wondering if maybe there was intention there, because Maybelle, Queen Latifah, is getting this song, but there is that history of Tracy being the main character and this tension over whether she should be the one to sing this big number at this point in the show.
Ugh.
But I don't know. It could have just been, again, because she is wearing white the whole time.
So it's one of two things. It was intentional because we want to keep focus on Tracy because Tracy is the main character, which is bad. Or it was unintentional. It was Tracy's in white the whole movie. We always have Tracy in a white blouse, and the costumer didn't get the notes. And no one thought, oh, Tracy looks like a goddamn lighthouse. It was so visually distracting to the point that I couldn't even focus on the song.
Which is a shame because it's a beautiful song.
It
and
is.
Queen Latifah performs it so
And I'm just looking at this dumbass white girl in the front row who's just got like his big theater kid energy even when she's singing backup. And I'm just mad about it because I'm like, this is Queen Latifah's moment. And I'm just staring at this dumb white teenager.
I mean, I think that's fair. And I also think that whether it was intentional or not, it is interesting that this is what you noticed given what happens then through the rest of this scene.
Yeah,
so
they come up on the station, get stopped by some cops. Tracy starts a riot and then runs away. And then runs away. Way to not accept any responsibility for your actions, Tracy.
I guess the idea is that she needed to run because she is the one who hit the cop in the head with her sign.
It's not staged very well.
It's not.
All.
I wrote in my notes, running away is ... a choice.
Yeah,
Now I will say, this is different than the other versions where the riot happens in both the original movie and in the stage show, but Tracy does go to jail in the other versions.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why they didn't do that here.
I'm not sure.
I don't think it works. I think the movie could have done something with, here is someone who thinks that she isn't privileged and then finds out about, oh, this is what white privilege actually is because I think that I can bop a cop with a sign and I cannot.
Right.
And she finds that out, that's her fuck around and find out moment. And she doesn't find out. And
no,
again,
she doesn't.
That is Tracy's, I stand by what I said. Tracy has big main character energy, derogatory. And yeah, she absolutely does. And this moment is exemplary of that.
Well, and I think the movie even downplays what she actually did, because I think it's kind of funny how we end up seeing a newsreader describing that she's at large after bludgeoning a cop who's in critical condition.
Beating an Eagle Scout with a crowbar.
So it is funny, but at the same time, I think that it's kind of downplaying that she did hit him with something. You can't do that.
Yeah, well, no, I think that works.
You do? Okay.
I think that part works because it is funny and it makes it exaggerated. But yeah, you can't bop a cop with a protest sign
it would have worked better, including the exaggerations of what actually happened, if she had gone to jail, as in the other versions. But the fact that she does something that she shouldn't have done and then runs away, leaving the people that she is supposed to be there supporting to deal with the consequences of her actions.
And her poor dad has to bail them all out.
And her dad has to bail them out. And then it's exaggerated. So it's like, well, what she did, it wasn't that bad. But no, it was still bad. And she didn't have to face any consequences for it, really.
It really wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. I agree.
It wasn't bad, but
she made them deal with it.
Yeah.
And that is not right.
Nope, that's not.
But in the other versions, she does go to jail. And in fact, her father does bail everybody out of jail except for her, because Velma has done something to rig the system so that she has to stay in jail. And the song Without Love does happen while Tracy is in jail. In this version, she runs away. She goes to Penny's house.
Yeah.
Penny tries...
She's in a fallout shelter.
She's in a fallout shelter.
Penny's house.
Penny has tried to secure her way in there. Again, Alice and Janney, very small role. She has some great lines in this scene where she and Penny are watching TV and they see that Tracy is wanted for assaulting a cop. And Allison Janney says, you see, if you were with her, you'd be in prison right now fighting whores for cigarettes. Tracy has appeared outside the window. Penny tries to put her in the fallout shelter. But then Allison Janney shows up and says, I called the cops. You're going to prison. And Penny, you're never going to leave this house again.
For someone who's wanted and apparently fugitive #1 in Baltimore for cop bopping. They take a very long time to show up.
That's true.
She has so long to escape.
Penny's mother takes her upstairs and ties her up with a jump rope, and then she has a line where she is leaving the room and she sprinkles her with holy water and says, devil child, devil child. And I do make that reference sometimes in reference to the cats. When the cats are being bad, I will sometimes want to say, devil child, devil child. Seaweed shows up to free Penny. At the same time, Link has gone to the Turnblad's house because he saw the news and he is surprised that Tracy has committed this vicious act. And Edna's like, well, it's not true. And he says,
well, it isn't true.
I can't sleep. I can't eat. And Edna says, you can't eat.
You can't eat.
Come in.
Come in. Let me give you some pork.
And Link goes to Tracy's room while Edna is preparing the pork, and he is singing to a picture of her. Seaweed and Penny are singing. They're singing Without Love. So
I don't know why. I did like the way this one was staged, although now I'm realizing I wasn't thinking about it being Tracy's room. Tracy has a big old photograph of herself.
Yeah, that is weird.
And she has her secret pillow baby Ruth that Link just is cool with eating, which is gross for several reasons.
No, if I found a half-eaten baby Ruth under your pillow, you better believe I would chow down on that thing. I love Baby Ruth.
Yeah, all right.
They get to the record store and Tracy calls her mother to tell her to be at the studio the next day. And then we cut to the studio and it is the day of the Miss Hairspray pageant. Mm-hmm. So they are...
I did like the little gag of the cops stopping anyone with Tracy's big hair.
Inside the station, the other girls who are on the Corny Collins Council are getting ready to do their dancing. They have the song It's Hairspray, which is the sponsorship song for the pageant, and they're dancing in just streams of aerosol.
Yeah, it was fun and also uncomfortable to watch.
Mm-hmm. I do like that after the song is over and the broadcast cuts, they all start coughing and showing that it is not a pleasant experience to just dance in a cloud of hairspray.
Fortunately, no one lit a match and they all went up in a fire. These things happen.
Then the competition starts. Yes, these things happen. The competition starts and there's a lot of things happening at once. So I'm trying now to remember exactly what is going on. We see some of the black kids are there doing surreptitious shenanigans, I guess is the best way to put it. We don't know exactly what they're doing yet. They're doing something. There's some kind of scheme afoot. And the other girls on the stage, they're starting to dance. People are calling in to vote for who they want to win Miss Hairspray. We are seeing the tallies being updated as they're getting the calls. But then we do also see that Velma is taking some of the votes and switching them out for something else. Who knows what she could be doing? And they are still, she's in touch with the security guards / cops who are outside trying to make sure that Tracy doesn't come in. They get a confirmed sighting, and I'm like, how? Because it is Christopher Walken. And I'm like, why does he look more like Tracy than that other actual teenage girl that had her hair exactly the same and was also plus size?
Right.
I have always been confused about that.
And also,
I'm like, Christopher Walken is an old skinny man.
What a weird distraction.
Yeah. True. But they say that he's the confirmed sighting, and there's some confusion. I'm actually, what distracts them? Because
they all run out because they think that Christopher Walken is Tracy.
Yes. And Velma sends some of them out. Some of the guys that are
locked out, and they use the big
hairspray can as a battering ram
to break in.
Yeah. Someone has let Christopher Walken into the studio, and yes, there are big cans of hairspray outside for advertising and decoration, and they use one of them as a battering ram to get in, and they come across Velma, who says, why did that take so long? And they said that hairspray battering ram was heavy, and she says, how could it be heavy? They're hollow. And she realizes in real time, and then they go and there's a door on it, which why? Why would there be a door on this can of hairspray?
Right.
No reason except to disguise
the Trojan hairspray.
The Trojan hairspray can that has carried Tracy into the studio.
Who should have a concussion from being used as a battering ram.
Yes. Let's assume she had a helmet on in there. And we just don't see that part because we don't see her until she descends onto the stage.
Right.
They are about to announce that Amber has won the Miss Hairspray pageant. I do like when James Marsden says, it is my obligation to announce that Amber Von Tussle, and then Tracy descends in a rocket ship and says, is about to get outdanced. And then You Can't Start the Beat begins. This is the finale.
You Can't Stop the Beat.
You Can't Stop the Beat starts. This is the finale song. Tracy is all up in Amber's face. Amber is trying to hold on to Link, and he runs off to dance with Tracy. And then there's just all kinds of dancing happening. Seaweed and Penny come onto the stage to dance. Penny is wearing an extremely tight dress, which looks great on her. But she cannot dance in it because it's...
Yeah, no, it's very obvious, especially in some of the wide shots, that they were like, you get special choreography because you cannot move.
It's skin tight and also mid-calf length, so she cannot move her legs. And it looks very funny. But she and Seaweed dance together, and then they kiss on camera. And
they like full on, like they are swallowing each other's faces. It is not even like a little cute stage kiss. It is like they are
making out
fluids.
Yeah. And Prudy, Penny's mother, sees this at home and it has basically a nervous breakdown. Then Wilbur and Edna capture Velma on camera admitting to rigging the votes so that Amber would win.
Which doesn't matter in the end.
It doesn't matter in the end. Link runs and gets Inez and brings her on stage to dance. And I love this moment because it just kind of happens. It's not really like, oh my God, this is the first time that Black people and white people have danced on television together. But it is. We know that because they've established that earlier on.
Right.
But he just goes and gets her, and then they're just dancing. And then Wilbur encourages Edna to go on stage and dance. And she's wearing a very glittery, fringy outfit. She has her part of the song. You can't stop my knife and fork when I see a Christmas ham.
Ugh. Not funny.
Inez has gotten a tidal wave of votes. She wins Miss Hairspray. Velma says she's not eligible. And Corny says, actually, anybody that dances for it is eligible. And then he announces that the Courtney Collins show is now and forever officially integrated.
And racism is solved forever.
And racism is solved forever. It's over. Everything is perfect. No notes. But the culmination of You Can't Stop the Beat is that all the dancers are now on stage dancing together, singing about how everybody everybody is great and racism is solved. And Corny goes to get Maybelle and she wraps the song up. Literally, she says, it's time to wrap this mother up. And she finishes the song. Tracy and Link kiss. And that's the end.
That's the end.
Apparently, in the stage show, Inez does not win Miss Hairspray, which is what I was alluding to earlier when I said that her role was different. She does dance in the competition, but Tracy wins.
That's so weird because you'd think that she would be a bigger character. It almost felt like her win kind of came out of nowhere in the movie. So it felt like if her character got cut, it would make more sense for her to win in the play.
Yeah.
But in the movie, I do feel like it would make a little bit more sense for Tracy to win. I do understand that for a movie that's focusing on segregation, centering the little white girl is problematic at best. So having Inez win maybe makes that a little bit better. I don't know. The movie...
I like that Inez wins instead of Tracy.
I think that works. I do think they should have done more with her character because her character is kind of just there. You're like, oh, she's the little sister who can dance.
Well, and I think my read on it, as I said earlier, Inez is introduced in the audition scene. She's just there and she gets rejected out of hand. Then she's probably around for the scene at the record store and she dances but I think her part is pretty minimal in the play. And I think they probably decided
they could have aged her up and
put
her in detention too.
I think that they wanted her to win the competition because I do think that makes a little bit more sense. But it wouldn't really work for her to be around for more of the movie because she's so much younger than the rest of the characters. So it's like, where would she fit in? But they could have changed her age maybe. But she does win. Racism is solved. Tracy and Link kiss, and everybody seems really invested in that. I'm like, but racism is solved. You're care about these two white kids kissing, cool. And then that's it. And then we get some songs in the credits.
Yeah, at least three songs that were cut that seemed like they were better than most of what made in the movie. I was like, did they cut all of the best songs from the musical?
So you may have noticed as the credits were playing that I was singing along to Mama, I'm a Big Girl Now. That song was cut. And I read that the reason for that is because in the musical, the three characters that are singing it are Penny, Tracy, and Amber. So they all are having issues with their mothers. And so the three parts are them, singing to their mothers about how they're growing up, they want different things, etc. They couldn't figure out how to do that scene without having a three-way split screen. That was an obstacle they were trying to overcome because they didn't want to do that.
No movie has ever had a three-way split screen. It wouldn't have worked.
No, I mean, I know that it's a technique that exists, but it sounds like they didn't want to do that and they couldn't figure out another way to do the song, so they just cut it. But what I really like about the version that plays in the credits is the people who are singing the song in the credits are Nikki Blonsky, who was Tracy in the movie, Ricky Lake, who was Tracy in the original movie, and Marissa Jarrett Winokur, who was the original Tracy on Broadway.
Okay.
So those are the three. And so there's a moment, this is not in, because I've heard the song from the original Broadway recording. There's a moment I'm not going to sing because I'm not that good of a singer, but there's a moment where it's a very dramatic soprano point of the song, and then you hear people say show off. That's Ricky Lake and Marissa Jarrett Winokur saying that Nikki Blonsky is a show off because she's the young, most recent Tracy. So I thought that was cute. So any final thoughts?
Yeah, I hope Amanda Bynes is doing well, and I'm not going to Google to find out because I don't want to be sad.
Yeah. That's a lovely sentiment. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. There could have been a lot more to it. It definitely shows its age in a lot of places. I think that I would enjoy seeing the stage version. That would be a good time. It wasn't bad. It was enjoyable, but it also wasn't great. It was fine. It was fine.
Okay.
It was cute.
All right. Well, it is much better than some of the other movies that I'm going to show you for this podcast. So we're starting on a high and it can only go downhill from here.
Oh no. Oh no.
And on that note, thanks for listening. I'm Heather.
I'm Dan.
This has been Blind Spots and Second Thoughts.